Okay, now we're going to start into book 10, which starts on page 386. There are only two more books in part 1. So, three more books in part 1. So if you will go to 386 here, Circe, the Grace of the Witch. Odysseus and his men next land on the island of Aeolus, the Wind King, and stay with him a month. To extend his hospitality, Aeolus gives Odysseus 2 parting gifts, a fair west wind that will blow the fleet of ships toward Ithaca, and a great bag holding all the unfavorable stormy winds. Within sight of home, and while Odysseus is sleeping, the men open the bag, thinking it contains gold and silver. The bad winds thus escape and blow the ships back to Aeolus' island. Good job, guys. The king refuses to help them again, believing now that their voyage has been cursed by the gods. The discouraged mariners next stop briefly in the land of Laestrygons, fierce cannibals who bombard the fleet of ships with boulders. Only Odysseus, his ship, and its crew of 45 survive the shower of boulders. The lone ship then sails to Aea, home of the goddess Circe, who is considered by many to be a witch. There, Odysseus divides his men into 2 groups. Eurylochus leads one platoon to explore the island, while Odysseus stays behind on the ship with the remaining crew. In the wild wood, they found an open glade. Around a smooth stone house, the hall of Circe, and wolves and mountain lions lay there, mild in her soft spell, fed on her drug of evil. None would attack. Oh, it was strange, I tell you. But switching their long tails, they faced our men like hounds, who look up when their master comes with tidbits for them, as he will from the table. Humbly those wolves and lions with mighty paws fawned over our men, who met their yellow eyes and feared them. In the entrance way they stayed to listen there. Inside her quiet house they heard the goddess Circe. Low she sang in her beguiling voice, while on her loom she wove ambrosial fabric, sheer and bright, by that craft known to the goddesses of heaven. No one would speak until Polites, most faithful and likable of my officers, said, "Dear friends, no need for stealth. Here's a young weaver singing a pretty song to set the air. A tingle on these lawns and paven courts. Goddess she is, or lady. Shall we greet her?" So reassured, they all cried out together, and she came swiftly to the shining doors to call them in, all but Eurylochus, who feared a snare. That means a trap. The innocents went after her. On thrones she seated them in lounging chairs, while she prepared a meal of cheese and barley and amber honey mixed with Pramnian wine, adding her own vile pinch to make them lose desire or thought of our dear fatherland. So kind of like with the lotus flowers. Scarce had they drunk when she flew after them with her long stick and shut them in a pigsty, bodies, voices, heads, and bristles, all swinish now, though minds were still unchanged, so she changed them into pigs. So squealing in they went, and Circe tossed them acorns, mast, and cornelberries, fodder for hogs who rut and slumber on the earth. Down to the ship Eurylochus came running to cry alarm. Foul magic doomed his men. But working with dry lips to speak a word he could not. Being so shaken, blinding tears welled in his eyes, foreboding filled his heart. When we were frantic questioning him, at last we heard the tale, our friends were gone. So Eurylochus tells Odysseus what has happened and begs him to sail away from Circe's island. Against this advice, however, Odysseus rushes to save his men from the enchantress. On the way, he meets the god Hermes, who gives him a magical plant called moly to protect him from Circe's power. Still, Hermes warns Odysseus that he must make the goddess swear she will play no witch's tricks. Armed with the moly and Hermes' warning, Odysseus arrives at Circe's palace. Circe gives Odysseus a magic drink, but it does not affect him, and he threatens to kill her with his sword. Circe turns the pigs back into men, but puts them all into a trance. They stay for 1 year, until Odysseus finally begs her to let them go home. She replies that they must first visit the land of the dead and hear a prophecy from the ghost of Tiresias. So there's another year added on to their travel because Odysseus didn't listen to the advice of someone else once again. All right, and that's all for book 10, and now we're going to go to the next video for book 11.